I'm ready to talk about my most favorite thing to talk about here on the channel, which is eyeshadow palettes. And specifically, I picked out 15 palettes that I think are perfect for springtime. Things that are giving me spring feelings. Soft, beautiful, pretty, colorful, maybe neutrals, a little bit of everything. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Rachel. And if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I'm gonna link all of the palettes down below in the description box, as well as everything that's on my face. And if you enjoyed this video while you're watching it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel before you leave if you love eyeshadow content. The first palette that I pulled is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. Listen. I want to start off by saying all of these palettes are beautiful for any time of year. You can wear any color you want at any time. Obviously, you don't need my permission. You don't need me to say that. You know that. But I do love the color story for spring. It's soft, it's ethereal. These pinks, these cool tones, they're just beautiful. The quality of these shadows is beautiful. The mattes are blendable, soft, really easy to use, and the shimmers in this are just gorgeous, sparkly, dimensional. One of my favorite shimmer formulas on the mainstream market. And the palette itself, like the packaging, is so beautiful. I'm not a huge cool tone lover. It's not my first choice, but when I want cool tones in like softer tones, this is the one I'm reaching for, and I love it for spring. This is the first palette I thought of when I was pulling palettes for this video. The first one that came right to my mind, which is the Nomad Fête de Provence palette. This is a perfect springtime color story to me, and I think it is the most unique and interesting color story that Nomad has done. I love these like beautiful springtime flower colors on this side, and then this is like when it's rainy, right? That rainy spring day where you still got those colors, but they're a little more muted. The matte formula for Nomad across the board, I think generally speaking through all of their palettes, is so beautiful. More of that pigmented but also blendable formula. And then the shimmers in this, I like that there's a few different shimmer formulas. You have more traditional shimmers. You have a duochrome that is yellow with like a green reflect. And then these two shimmers over here are a lot softer. They're not super metallic, but they give a really pretty sheen to the lid. So you've got some variety, which I always love. I love the packaging. They always kill it with theming packaging. They are an indie brand that does collections based on different destinations around the world. So this one is from France. They did a beautiful job with this one, and it is definitely, in my opinion, a springtime palette. The next two I want to talk about are, I think, sisters. Well, they're from the same brand, so they are sisters. The Cosmic Brushes Muse and Serenity palettes. I think these are both beautiful springtime palettes, and I feel like they pair so well together. So let's start off with the Serenity palette. This was my first purchase from the brand. I did buy this last year. The quality on both of these palettes is so good. The matte formula is so pigmented, but very blendable, very easy to use. These aren't your soft, buildable, barely there type of mattes. So if that's what you're looking for, I don't know that you would love this, but if you like pigmented mattes, you would really enjoy the brand. This color story is a little more of a saturated spring color story, a little bit more bright, but also has a lot of depth to it. And it is a mostly matte palette, which I actually prefer. But the shimmers in here are very pretty. There is like an iridescent duochrome up here. And then you've got some more like traditional metallics, very shiny and sparkly metallics. And then the Muse is a little bit more muted, a little bit more grungy. This one is pretty much brand new to my collection. I am almost done reviewing it. I want to use it a couple more times to get my final thoughts, but so far it is the same formula as the Serenity palette. Pigmented mattes, beautiful shimmers. This one has more shimmers in it than the Serenity, but still more mattes to shimmers in terms of the ratio. Really gorgeous, like secret garden color story. Very beautiful. My favorite palette that I tried last year, my #1 palette, and I tried a lot of palettes, was the Tiny Marvels palette from Sydney Grace and Mel Thompson. This was a collaboration between the two. And look, we've got the insects, right? The insects start coming out, at least where I live, in the springtime. They're emerging after the cold. So I feel like that's really fitting to the season. And then this color story is everything. It's neutral, yet you've got soft pops of color, and the formula is absolutely beautiful. I feel like this is one of my favorite formulas, both mattes and shimmers, that I've ever tried, and I'm so excited to try more from Sydney Grace. They did a great job curating the color story, and I love the shimmer formula from Sydney Grace is very, very smooth, but it's still shiny and it still gives impact on the lid, where a lot of brands, they have like a smooth shimmer formula that's not very exciting, right? These are just so beautiful, and the mattes are pigmented and blendable. I love this like pastel but also earthy color story, and the shade Web up here is my perfect inner corner highlight. Like whenever I have a palette that doesn't have an inner corner highlight, I tend to reach for this if I want a shimmer inner corner highlight. I've got some affordable palettes to talk about. ColourPop, right? I mean, ColourPop has 1,000 spring color stories. If you go on their website, you could probably find one that you're looking for, but I pulled a few that I personally own. So I have another set of sister palettes, the Glow Getter and the So Fly palette. The last time I checked, these were on major sale. I'm sure they're discontinuing them as they do. But again, insect-themed palettes give me the vibe of spring. Glow Getter is really a more like cool tone neutral palette with a pop of mint and a pop of yellow. The formula on these, I kind of have explained before. I find ColourPop has several different formulas, and I feel like the ones that are in similar packaging to each other have similar formulas. So like these palettes that are 9 pans that have slightly bigger pans, in my experience, all have the same formula generally. The mattes are very buildable. They're not super pigmented, but again, that's nice if you like a user-friendly, buildable formula. They're not going to intimidate you. They're not going to give you so much pigment off the bat that you end up having trouble blending them out. And then the shimmers are a little softer, but they still have a little bit of shine to them. They're not dull. They have that just really pretty look. And then the So Fly palette actually is very similar to Dream Street. I did do a side-by-side comparison recently in one of my videos, and it's very similar. It's kind of a reincarnation, if you will, of the Dream Street palette in collaboration with Kathleen Lights, whenever that was, 2017, something like that. It's the modern day version. You've got a pop of peach, a pop of like a teal blue, and same formula that I was talking about. Buildable mattes, a little bit more soft shimmers, but very pretty for spring if that's your bag. As far as I know, all of the palettes I'm talking about are still available, as far as I know. Okay, if some of them aren't, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All except for one, actually. One of them I know is not available. I'll get to that at the end. I did mention these recently in a video, but these ones from ColourPop at Target, I've really been impressed with the quality of them. I've really enjoyed them. And these two color stories in particular are perfect for spring, in my opinion. I won't go on and on because I did literally just talk about these, but Mauve and Up is a beautiful mauve color story. You're not going to get a ton of deep smoky looks with this. It is a little bit more light to mid-tone, but with that being said, it's a very pretty ethereal look whenever I use it. We've got more cool tone mauves. We've got a couple of warmer mauves. And then the shimmers in here vary. Some of them are more standard, not super shiny. But then you've got a couple of more sparkly, I shouldn't say sparkly, a little bit more shiny shimmers. Really impressed with the quality of these. The fresh greens I really love as well. I love greens in general, but these are more like olivey greens, but you do have a pop of mint. These shimmers are a little more impactful in my opinion than the Mauve and Up, but you get different looks from this one. Like I feel like there's a little bit of variety here. With that being said, they're monochromatic palettes, but if you are looking for monochromatic palettes that you can actually purchase in store on a budget, these are wonderful for the price and also not for the price. I think they're really good quality and I've been enjoying them a lot. An underrated palette I don't hear many people talking about, but I think it's a wonderful neutral palette, especially for the springtime, is the Laura Lee Los Angeles Nudie No. 2 palette. I much prefer this one to her first one. I actually did declutter her first one recently. I feel like the quality of this one is better. The mattes are more pigmented. They're a little more prone to fallout, but I don't mind. I usually do my eyes first anyway. And then the shimmers in this are really pretty. You have more standard shimmers, then you have more textured, shiny shimmers. This is a perfect palette for someone that is really into neutrals. You wear mostly neutrals, but maybe you want a little pink leaning, a deep purple, maybe you want a little peach. It's giving me spring neutrals. Okay, I love it. Quality's great. I love that it's a 10-pan palette, perfect size for me. Really enjoy this one. This next palette is from What's Up Beauty. They are an indie brand. They do mostly make nail polishes and nail products, but they do have 2 eyeshadow palettes, and this is the one I have, which is the Geodes palette. Look at this. This is beautiful for spring. You've got neutral mattes with a pop of yellow, and then all of the shimmers, I feel like, give that little spring pop. A little bit more of a pastel spring flower look to the lid. If you want to just pop one of these on the lid with the neutral mattes, I think that it is a beautiful, again, neutral, but spring neutrals. This is perfect for someone that loves mostly neutrals, but you want to dabble in color. This makes it so easy for you to just choose one of these shades to put on your lid. You don't have to think using them, you know? I did receive this one in PR. Everything else I bought myself, just so you know. And so I've been loving this. The shimmer formula on this is definitely more on that sparkly side. So if you like impactful shimmers, you would really like this one. This next palette I love. Well, I love them all, right? I mean, that's why they're in this video. But this is a collaboration palette between Teresa is Dead and Lethal Cosmetics. So this is the Teresa is Lethal palette. I love the packaging with the UFO beaming down, and we've got a skyscape on the back. The shimmers in this palette are so good, especially Space Trash and TV Dinner. TV Dinner, this silver is like aluminum foil. It's out of this world. Get it, out of this world. Space Trash is giving me all of the late 90s vibes, like me choreographing a dance to Britney Spears in my friend's basement vibes, you know? And I love that you're getting all these pops of spring colors. Like, I just think of pastels, muted colors, pastels, obviously. I mean, that's not revolutionary for spring, but I like that you're getting it in both mattes and metallics. And like I said, these 2 metallics are spectacular. I'm pretty sure this is still available. I hope it is. Great for spring. Great for spring. Love it. This is another palette that I did talk about recently on my channel. This is the Berry Icy palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics. The formula of this is spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. The mattes are just that perfect in between, not super pigmented, not lightly pigmented. They're just right in the middle. They're very easy to use. Even these pastel shades show up true to pan. Like, you can build them up or you can sheer them out. They don't cause fallout. And then the shimmer formula in this is so good. It is that perfect smooth yet sparkly formula, which I personally love. That is my favorite formula. Give me something that's easy to just glide across my 36-year-old eyelids, but still gives me that shine, that still gives me that sparkle, that doesn't give me tons of fallout. Absolutely love it. And this is a perfect, in my opinion, spring/summer color story. You've got these pastel blues, you've got some purples, and you've got some like reddish, pinkish colors. Yes, if you love that formula that I just talked about, you would love this, really. And I'm so excited to see what else they come out with this year because the formula is great. And I did say in my palette ranking video that this isn't my favorite color story because I don't wear blue eyeshadow very often. So like, this side of the palette is not for me all the time, but when I do want to reach for these shades, I will reach into this palette because of the quality. This next palette is the Blend Bunny, the Dollhouse palette. I love this one for spring because you're getting those neutral leaning spring tones. If you've never seen Blend Bunny palettes before, have you been living under a rock? I'm just kidding. She does this in such a way that is so easy to use. You've got 5 different rows. You have a row of shimmers at the top. You have a row of pastels, mid-tones, deeps, and then deeper shimmers. So you can stick to a column and that creates a look for you. You don't have to think about it. And this for me is perfect for spring because they're muted colors, like I said earlier. That is kind of what I think of. I am a neutral lover, so for me, I like that this just gives me a little bit of color, just dips my toes in a little bit, but still gives me more than just a plain neutral look. The matte formula from Blend Bunny is one of my all-time favorites. It's extremely easy to use. It doesn't create tons of fallout. You can build it up to look like it is in the pan. You can really haphazardly just blend, and somehow it just works. So I love that. The shimmer formula in this is very sparkly, a little bit more on the creamy side, and some of these have a little bit more of a translucent base to them. I love this palette. It's great for spring. It's great for year round, obviously, but I think about pulling this one out in the spring the most. And then the last palette is an honorable mention because I know it's not available, but I had to mention it because I love this palette so much. And if you have it, you should consider bringing it out. So this is the Kylov Impressionism palette. So Kylov is an indie brand that did actually go out of business, I think at the end of 2022, but this, come on. The tones in this are just spring to me. Spring flowers, a meadow of just beautiful flowers that I'm frolicking through. The formula on this is very unique in my opinion. Their mattes are very, very creamy and buttery. They are more on the buildable side, but no fallout, like not powdery or dry at all whatsoever. And then the shimmers on this are extremely smooth, really stunning palette. I'm definitely gonna pull this one out for the spring. If you own it, you should too. I know that the brand is doing a giant sale on their website. This particular palette is not available, but I do think they have a couple of their palettes still available for a very discounted price. If you've been thinking about the brand, I think the quality of their palettes is very, very good. So I will link their website down below. All right, and that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what some of your favorite palettes for springtime are. I would love to know your picks, and I love hearing from you. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, and I would love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.